Hello and welcome to Red Stain Radio, a Dead by Daylight podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Maddie, and I'm joined by one of my lovely co-hosts, Bryson. Hello, Bryson.
Hey, happy to be here. Yeah, just two of us. Back to back weeks where it's just two. Stevie's out
Yeah.
this week. You were out last week. But we still have a good show for y'all.
Yes. So, yeah, sadly, there's only two of us, but this episode is going to be just as entertaining. Do not worry, listeners and viewers. So, this is episode 41 of Red Stain Radio, where we're going to be discussing about the latest PTB, which features some adjustments to modifier stacking, killer updates, and the ability to see other survivors' perks while in a match without having to be in a survivor friends. This is a bit of a smaller PTB. This is kind of expected of a zero point 0.5 PTB. So this episode's going to be kind of a combination of two things. I don't know if it's going to be in the title, but let's just say it's a talk about game philosophy.
Yeah, it will be in the title. So
Alrighty. Well, let's move on to some DBD news. There's some upcoming 2v8 changes. This was revealed in the community stream April 2nd of 2026, where we got a plethora of changes, but basically some of the key things you need to know is that the game mode is returning on April 28th of this month. The Oni is going to be getting nerfs while the Deathslinger gets some buffs. There will be no new killers added, and Legion has been confirmed to not be coming back for 2v8 indefinitely. So
spicy.
yeah, they just said that they couldn't find any way to balance them that made them enjoyable without making it unfun for one side or the other. So for now, Legion is going to be outside of that pool of killers. Bryson, thoughts on the buffs, nerfs, and Legion's removal?
Super thrilled. Oni's getting a nerf. We don't know what these nerfs and buffs are, but I can imagine it'd be turn rate. I'd
We
say it's
do
probably
know
gonna.
the nerfs
Oh,
actually.
do we? Okay, I wasn't familiar. What are they?
For Devslinger, he gets a quicker reload, and I believe his harpoon range got increased. For
Ooh,
Oni,
good.
he gets more time decreased when he hits somebody. So it goes from instead of -7 seconds, it's -10 seconds.
Okay. Yeah, that's great because as I think everyone knows, playing 2v8, whether you're killer or survivor, Oni is a very popular pick. He's
Mhm.
very strong in this mode with survivors running around injured constantly. He is just by far an S tier killer in 2v8. Not so much in 1v4 because you have to earn your power and you don't have someone else helping you. So, super glad he's getting a nerf because I was really getting tired of going against Oni in 2v8. I don't know about you, but yeah, I was kind of sick of it. And Deathslinger desperately needed a buff because he is by far the
Yeah.
worst killer in 2v8, like even worse than Trapper. Deathslinger just has no map pressure whatsoever. So it really
Yeah.
sucks that he's a cool killer, but he just really doesn't perform well in 2v8 unless you can hit your shots consistently as the killer. But yeah, I'm excited. I don't mind Legion not coming back. It is a bit bizarre that they could not find, other than like some tweaks here and there. I think a
Yeah.
revamp would really be required for Legion to come back. But the fact that
Mhm.
Legion is not coming back anytime soon is really interesting to me. And yeah, it sucks for Legion mains. I'm sorry that you have to deal with that, or Legion enjoyers. But I'm okay with this because Legion is just, I don't think, fun to go against, despite being easily counterable. I don't find them to be a fun killer to play against.
Yeah, agreed here. Like they were really fun to play as. The problem is that
Hmm.
they're a killer that creates so much pressure where in a normal 1v4 game mode, the pressure is, oh, all these people are injured, there's a lot of people in deep wound, but I have to go and get them and I don't have a power for that. Whereas in 2v8, it's like, oh, I can injure 6 people roughly. Like, let's be nice and say it's 5 on average. That means there are 5 people the other killer come down with a power. So it really creates this uh, gameplay atmosphere, I guess, where if there's a Legion in the game, you're basically going to be playing injured the whole game, and that doesn't really feel fun, especially when there's only so many things you can do to heal yourself because you don't have those perks. So it makes sense. I feel like there's something else they could have done. Like, for example, I've reduced maybe their speed and the lethal frenzy maybe make it so if you hit people, you get faster and faster, and maybe just cap it at 4 and get rid of the insta down just for 2v8. I feel like that'd be a way to kind of balance it. It's like they can still apply pressure, but they can't apply too much pressure. Maybe make the cooldown longer too. So that's what I would have done, but they probably did internal testing where like that's not enough. People still hate it. So
Yeah, and even when you're in a mode where you're paired with another killer, for example, Oni, like we just mentioned, Oni and Legion were a golden combo during that 2v8. Like they just were paired really well together, and it was just kind of like okay, we're going against another Legion Oni combo. This is the 6th one tonight, so it and then paired with high mobility killers like Blight and Hillbilly, Legion applies a lot more pressure on survivors than they would in a 1v4 match. So yeah, I definitely get them kind of scaling back and pulling them out of 2v8 indefinitely for the time being, because I think they need to go back to the drawing board for their power when it comes to 2v8.
this wasn't fun. Yeah. Also, I was incorrect about the changes for Oni and Deathslinger. We do not know. I fired.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. No worries. It would be cool. I would love to see 2 shots for Deathslinger. I think that would be great before he has to reload. But an increased reload speed would be great. And then I think Oni maybe should have a capped down amount for his I don't know what his power is called when he's got beast mode activated, I guess.
Beast mode.
Because he could down over and over and over. Yeah, going X game mode. But he can down people over and over and over. It'd be nice to see him capped. Like, okay, he's down 3 people, that's the cap for this, or he's down 4 people, that's the cap. That'd be nice.
Yeah. I do think another thing they could do for Deathslinger, just a little fun thing, is to make his iridescent add-on, the one with the coin, where if they're range, then they're insta down. I think that would be fun.
Yeah.
And reward, good shots. That's kind
I don't know. I like his other eerie add-on where he's undetectable while he speared someone. I'm joking. It's a terrible add-on. It's and the fact that it's pink is
a little crazy.
A travesty. It's a horrible add-on.
Well, let's move on from that 2v8 stuff. There's a few more 2v8 things that they included. That being the anti-camp feature is going to be added to survivor cages. So after a certain amount of time, you get an option to stay where you're at if you're in a cage and you get that bar filled up, or you can decide to let it take you somewhere else on the map to get away from a killer who's maybe trying to secure your location. They're running around on the edge. Additionally, Temple of Purgation and Ironworks are going to be available as maps for the 2v8 mode. And there's going to be a standard mode, play while you wait. So during 2v8, and you want to play killer for 1v4 specifically, you can do the play while you wait feature, because killer queue times during those 2v8 periods are a little long. So it's really nice that they're bringing that for specifically when there's 2v8. So I really like that. Yes. So, Bryson, any thoughts on that before we get to kind of a little spicy thing they say about 2v8?
I don't. I'm cool with those maps. Good 1v4s getting play while you wait, because I know some folks 2v8 isn't their jam. That's okay. You can play while you wait, and your killer queues will be a lot more bearable that way. So good change all around.
Yes. So the spicy thing they mentioned in the community live stream is that some killers are probably never going to come to 2v8 due to their power and interactions, which is to be expected.
Yeah, it is.
Really bums me out because I kind of want them all in, but it makes sense why they can't do that. Their reasoning for this is that they want the game mode to be fun for both sides, for killer and survivor. Additionally, selection based on world visual effects, shared interactions, status effects, and killer items play parts in these. So a killer like the Dredge is going to be a lot harder to put in, because let's say there's also a Freddy Krueger in the game, the Nightmare. How does the Dredge's Nightfall work with the Dream World? Do they overlap? Does one have precedent? It just doesn't sound easy, especially on a coding standpoint with behaviors history and the very, very old game engine. Some killers are just going to break, and they don't want that. And they also want it to be fun, because imagine if you're playing against Pinhead, he's slowing you down. And then you have Freddy Krueger and you're getting slow for everything else. That's going to suck. You're gonna be like, I want you, get me out of here. Like, you're not gonna like that. No. So some killers are probably not gonna show up. If I had to make a guess on some killers who probably won't show up, it's probably gonna be Dredge, Freddy Krueger. If I had to throw my hat out there, because those were kind of the two they talked about the most, I would say Plague is probably another one that will never be in that game
Yeah.
mode. Because imagine being unable to cleanse yourself, and if one person cleanses, then suddenly, oh, everyone's getting knocked across the map from the Plague, and then there's another killer who can do stuff. So she's probably never going to be in. But yeah, not great, but it makes sense. Because
Yeah.
imagine trying to play. Sorry,
No,
I'm getting
no, go ahead.
sidetracked.
You're welcome
I
to
was gonna,
finish. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, imagine trying to play like D&D Vecna with Sadako. Like, imagine having to do a side quest on your side quest on your side quest. You probably want to kill yourself. Not that intense, but like, you get the point. You would want to sacrifice yourself on the hug. Like,
Yeah.
it's not fun.
Or even like you have pig and you have doctor and you have a trap, it's beeping and you get shocked and does getting shocked take you out of the box? Does it reset the search there? Like there are a ton of killer interactables that will overlap, and they also like, killer items like Onryo and like a Xenomorph both have things that they come in and out of. Those are often placed in the same areas where, and even then, like in 1v4, they're not always placed great. Like I'm a Xenomorph main. Those turret locations are really poorly placed sometimes. They've gotten better over the years, but when they first came out, both those killers, sometimes they'd spawn right next to each other, especially in indoor maps like Hawkins, or sometimes they would just spawn very, very far away from like any gens or points of interest. So yeah, it really comes down to, and they said with like licensed characters, they kind of a priority for them because they want to see a way to bring those characters in. And of course, with licensed characters, they have another hump to overcome in terms of, the things we mentioned already: status effects, VFX, shared interactables, and killer items. They have to ask permission to add these killers into 2v8. So I don't expect. So, you have to think about your license holders who care about their licenses. We're not getting Michael Myers. We are not getting Freddy Krueger. We are probably not getting Bubba. Like, these are characters that have not gotten any updates or cosmetics any recently, or even in the game. It's like you mentioned Pinhead too a minute ago. He's not probably going to be coming anytime soon. So, yeah, the roster for 2v8 is already limited. This even limits it even more, not that we know, or we're not going to see as many killers added. So, based on these things, my guess is the next couple of killers are going to add maybe Clown, because Clown doesn't have a lot of interactables. He's throwing things himself. He does have some status effects, but it's haste or hindrance. That's really it for him. Yeah. I could see Doctor being added to this, although that's a little more complex, right? Because you are Madness, and maybe you have Nemesis as well. Like, how does Infection and Madness work together? It's a bummer for sure, but it's a bummer realization, and I totally understand. Like it's not behavior's fault. It's just a nature of what the game has become, and I don't blame them. But 2v8 killer rollouts are going to be much slower going forward.
Yeah, I do think a lot more, thankfully, licensed killers will be added than not, because there are a lot of them that are kind of simple. It's just kind of that interaction, but I feel like with the limited pool they have now, they can really hone that down. For example, like Sadako, she could be really problematic, but if they add her sooner rather than later, then they can really be like, okay, so when these characters in a match, this happens, or this is how she works, so all of these characters don't fuck up with her kit, or she gets really strong. And yeah, like, for example, I feel like not to rep my favorite franchises, I feel like someone like Springtrap would be pretty easy. Like, the doors would be kind of weird. They'd probably be off limits for the Ever Killer, but like, very simple. He gets a axe. People can use the doors. People get transportation. It's fun. There we go. Cameras too. Slay. Amazing. It's very simple.
I would love to see other killers use his doors though. That would be amazing.
That would be really fun. I don't know if that will happen, because I can imagine a bug of the jump scare in the office for Springtrap accidentally applying his model or his rigging onto another killer like Sadako, and it's gonna look really scary. But I can imagine other characters being added that seem complex but aren't that complex once they get into it. Like D&D Vecna I was talking about, besides like his killer object, aka the chest spawning, he's fairly simple. He has 4 powers, they go on a long cooldown. That's it.
Yeah, I think we'll see those killers probably more than likely, especially because one, they mentioned licensed characters kind of priority for them. Two,
Yeah.
those licenses that you just mentioned are seem to have good relationships with behavior,
Yeah.
with a lot of cosmetics and pretty regular cosmetic releases. We're still waiting on Foxy, by the way. Behavior. You
They
said you
didn't
didn't
forget about
forget,
them. Don't worry, they didn't forget about
um,
him. It's been
but
almost a year, but they didn't forget about him.
but you're totally right. Like spawn logic for like those interactables will definitely be weird. But like that's another thing. Like it's going to be a lot of more hand holdy programming
Yeah.
for those things, and you also have to deal with balancing for some of those interactables. Like for example, I would love to see a xenomorph in 2v8. However, how as a xenomorph enjoyer, you have to face turrets a lot, and so
Yeah.
how does turrets work? It is because the limit right now is 5. You can limit that down to 4 with add-ons.
Yeah.
How does that work? Like if I turn a corner and there are 3 turrets right there, like I'm going to be out of power all the time. So
Yeah.
it'd be interesting to see those types of balancing as well. And the same with like plague. Like I doubt we see plague, but how to, you know, go to fountains and you're cleansing constantly. Like,
Yeah.
are there a limited number of fountains where only a certain number of people can cleanse, or can everyone cleanse? Can multiple people cleanse at the same one? That's
Mhm.
all questions to ask, but
Yeah.
very complicated situation.
Yes. Well, that was the 2v8 news. We're going to move on to the kind of star of the episode, that being the 9.6 PTB. So let's get into it. There's some pretty big changes, I'd say, that don't seem that big, but are pretty noticeable and are definitely going to shape the game for the next couple updates, I believe. The first one being diminishing returns is going to be updated, because before, if you were to stack a lot of one stats effect or one bonus, there was nothing preventing you from doing that, and there was no sort of like reduction to those effects. But with the new 9.6 PTB, there's now going to be diminishing returns. So a repeated positive or negative gameplay effect or modifier, stats effect, etc., are now going to bring diminishing returns. So what that means is that if you have, say, a haste bonus and then get another haste bonus, the one that is higher is going to be the base for that modifier, and then the next one is going to get reduced. And what they have currently is that it's going to be 100% for the first one. So let's say you have haste, sprint burst, that's going to be your first one. The second value giving you haste would be at 50% of its original value. Then if you had a third instance, it would be at 25%. Fourth one would be 12.5. And then any other effect beyond that, so 5 and more, it's going to be reduced to 5% of its original potency. So it's going to be brought down a lot the more you have it. And the reason why they're sort of doing this is they want to incentivize players to mix up their builds and to have different variety in their perks and other things. I should add really quickly, add-ons for killer powers and survivor items are going to be excluded for this system. So if you're, say, using the add-on for Springtrap that gives you haste when you walk through his axe bubble, that's going to stay the same, even if you have a higher haste modifier from, say, like Bloodlust. Those two won't have a diminishing return. But if you were to have a perk, say, what's the perk that gives haste? Game Afoot, then that one would be a diminished return at 50%. So that's how it's going to be working, and that's for both sides. So Killer and Survivor are going to see this. But very important to remember, Survivor items and add-ons for killer powers are not affected by this. This is just going to be anything else. So that's like map offerings. That's going to be perks. That's going to be stuff like that. So, yeah, thoughts on that, Bryson?
Yeah, so a while back they I don't know what update they were going to introduce, where you could not stack haste. I think it was just haste, right? Haste and hindrance or something.
Yeah, it was
Um,
haste and hindered.
yeah, it was around the time they buffed and slash nerfed clown. They were just going to completely baseline. You cannot stack haste, which was not welcomed by the community. Like that was not a well received change, and they retracted that, and it did not come to live. This seems like it's a evolution of that, and I think I'm taking this face value. I have not played the PTB. I've not seen
Yeah,
anybody's
like
analysis of
reaction
this.
on it.
Yeah, I'm not really. I've been so busy today. I haven't had the chance. But just face value, this seems like a good middle ground. Like right now, healing and gen regression and gen progress, like gen, whether you're regressing or progressing,
Yeah,
is kind of a problem. Like those are the two metas right now. Like getting gens done as fast as possible, or and bringing regression perks is killer because gens do go fast if the survivors um, are optimizing their usage on gens, and they know what they're doing. And two, just making sure you're healed so you can stay longer and chase. And yeah, you have more pressure as a survivor. This seems to be addressing some of that. So like, your gen aggression, this is going to work with that as well. It's going to work with the healing speeds. It's going to work with haste and hindrance. So I like this, and I think it is going to bring up, as you mentioned, it's going to shake up some builds. You're not going to be able to stack 4 healing perks and heal within a couple seconds. Now it's gonna take some time. I'm a person who's never really stacked things. I've always enjoyed like a kind of an all around any situation kind of build.
like jack of all trades, kind of.
Yeah. Like my normal build is like life, deja vu, uh, botany, and usually like dead, like sometimes I put dead hard life and then something else like a random perk to go with those.
Mm.
But then I like to synergize things like plot twist and made for this or things like that. So I think this will help with shaking up people's use of perks. I know some people are like, why wouldn't I just bring the best healing perk? Well, it depends on the situation you're going to face, right? Like botany, yes, is a solid healing perk, but it's only 50%. It's nowhere
Yeah,
near compared to like We'll Make It, which is, I think, is 100% of a healing speed. And that's when you unhook someone, and it goes on a cooldown for 60 seconds after that or whatever. Or that's how long it lasts when you activate it. So it's really just going to depend on your play style. Are you someone who's altruistic and wants to go for heals right off the bat on someone who's hooked, or do you aren't going for heals as much, but you want a healing bonus like I do? I don't go for saves often. I'm usually in chase or doing a gen. I want a base modifier where it's available throughout the match and I don't have to activate it by saving someone. And that's why I bring botany. So it's really just going to depend on your play style and what kind of situations you want to counter or be prepared for. And that's the way I'm seeing it now.
yeah. So overall, I agree about the same. I'm just kind of happy that it's going to incentivize more variety in people's perks instead of stacking the same kind of thing. I do think it's going to be a bit of a growing pain though, because some things I feel like are going to not be noticeable. Like, oh, these things aren't going to be that bad. But when you get hit by that 50% reduction to your second source, it's going to feel not great. So it's definitely something I feel like people are going to have to get used to. But once that goes away, I feel like that's going to be good for the game overall. What's not good for the game overall, though, is some killer updates. But I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's talk
Um,
about
I
something.
before we move on, I did want to mention, I'm curious as to see if they implement a system where this is noticeable to new players or even just us in like all players. Like it'd be
Yeah,
nice if they had like I don't know, like to the right of your loadout with all the perks, it has like
a
a
tooltip.
stack. Yeah, like a tooltip, like, hey, you have diminishing returns in this build. This perk is going to
Yeah.
possibly have this modifier. Because I feel like, we're going to, when you're putting a build together, and you want to maximize healing, you're going to have to do math and figure out what are the best perks to run in what situations. So I'm curious to see if they implement anything like that. I doubt it because it is behavior, but we will see what they do in the future.
Yeah. So moving on from diminishing returns, let's talk about something positive before we get into the. That is, team perks are now visible in a match. So when you go into a match, there's going to be a bit of a new UI when you press tab, which is the match progress. It's going to show you and your 3 teammates on survivor side all of your perks, and it's going to show you the offering, your item, and your add-ons. Overall, amazing. We've been waiting for this. Interestingly, they did not make it so you could see it in the pre-game area where you're like all standing next to the campfire. I
Hmm.
believe that was for the best because people would dodge. So having that
Yeah,
only be available when you're in the game, I feel like is the best of both worlds. And
totally.
also, you just get to be like, hey, this is what my teammates are running. The only thing I would change, the only thing, never mind. I was gonna say make it so you could also see it when you're loading into the match, but people would do the same thing of disconnecting.
Yeah,
So
you can still
yeah,
disconnect in the middle. Just
yeah.
close the
So
game.
yeah, really happy. One thing they did know, when they showed it in the live stream, they did say you would be able to see the killer power icon. So people were kind of worried that you would be able to tell who the killer is. However, they did change that. So now that's going to be hidden throughout the entire match until the end, literally after the game. Then you get to see it.
Good.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's a good
good.
change.
So it's just gonna be I believe, a killer icon, like the one for the killer class when you're queuing. So it's like the skull, I believe, and like the weird triangle diamond shape. And then Survivor is gonna be a Survivor phase, 4 perks, authoring item, add-ons. I love this. This is perfect.
Yeah.
Yay.
And
Love that.
and the opposite team will not be able to see each other's perks. So the killer won't be able to see the survivors perks. Survivors won't be able to see their the killer's perks.
Yeah.
So nothing to worry about there either.
So this is purely for like the solo Survivor experience. I think this is amazing. This is gonna help people understand why teammates are doing certain things, especially since you can just hover over it and read. I love it. Yes, do more of this. This is good. Not
Yeah.
the other things in this, but this is great. I love
As
this.
someone who runs shoulder the burden and has been loving it lately, this is
Mhm.
a great change because there have been times you've been in these games where we have random who doesn't know I have shoulder. I was like, oh, one of you are on a second hook. I need to be the one to unhook so we can spread those hook states, and then they end up getting you. And I'm just like, oh no, it's like we got to
No.
get you out. So this is a great
Save
change.
me, save me. But yeah, I really love that, especially since it'll help with perks where people are kind of acting weird because you'd be like, "Why are you doing that?" Oh, because you have the
Yeah.
toy cane perk, blah.
It's like, why won't you let me heal you? Oh, it's because you have inner healing and you want to get into a locker or
Yeah,
something. Like,
exactly,
this is a
exactly.
great change.
Yeah, so amazing. No notes. What we do want to note before we move on to the kind of controversial thing, part of reason why this episode is kind of half the length, and now we're
Yeah.
half an hour, all of that. Let's talk about fast track. This is the only perk that got changed that wasn't like a buff fix, I believe, and that is fast track used to be whenever a survivor got hooked, you would get 3 tokens at max, and then you would have up to 9, and then you could spend them all to reduce generator total progress by 2%. So it'd be like a brand new part. This got changed, so instead of 2% per token, it's 1% per token. I was expecting this. I feel like everyone was expecting this. No notes again. This was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah, this perk was getting a lot of attention, but they nerfed it, so it's not as bad, and I think it'll be okay now.
Yes. Now, let's move on to the kind of controversial part of this PTB and has people a little upset, and that is the killer updates. There's kind of two main things, and most people are upset because I feel like there was a bit of miscommunication. Because on the live stream, they said that they were going to nerf the Blight, which is good, but there are
Which
some
I
people
did.
who are upset that one of the strongest
Yeah.
killers in the game got nerfed. We'll get into in a second. But the other thing they mentioned is that a lot of killers were getting small buffs. These buffs were small, yes. However, it was to a point where they're so minuscule, you won't notice them. Now, there are some killers of these that I do feel like are going to be noticeable. Some notable ones are going to be Springtrap, Demogorgon, and Wesker. But everyone else, it's very minor. I'm
Yeah.
looking at Ghostface. I'm sorry.
Oh
I'm
my
looking at
god.
I'm looking at Doctor as
Go,
well.
Ghostface moved from D tier to D tier.
Yes. So
Oh,
yeah, let's get into these nerfs and buffs on our favorite little guys. With Blight, his movement speed got moved from 4.6, which is standard, to 4.4 meters per second. So this is the same movement speed as the Spirit. This is the same movement speed as the new Trickster. This is the movement speed of the Huntress. So that's really good.
good
What
change.
What else they did though is that they made it so whenever he breaks a downed pallet, whether that be using his special power or a basic break, his rush tokens are going to be reduced to 2, are going to be reduced by 2 to below maximum, and he's going to reset his current rush token charge rate to 0. So if you have 4 tokens, you're going to go down to 2, and if you're recharging and you're halfway, then it's going to go back to 0. So it's to really incentivize you to play around a loop instead of just breaking it and then dashing. So very good change there. I feel like he is still strong. I don't know if he's out of S tier. He's definitely still A tier though. I feel like I'm not sure this is something we're gonna have to see in play, but you never underestimate a movement speed nerf. Every single killer that's 4.4 really struggles to be in a higher tier. Like Huntress used to be really high, but because of power creep and that 4.4, she went down to like B, in my opinion. We look at Trickster, no matter how many changes they did, he got moved to 4.4.
Yeah.
He went down to people. A
Mhm.
Blight, I feel like with the token changes too, he's not going to be as strong as before. I feel like it is going to be a bit noticeable, but he still has a lot of the tech that he had before, like being able to 180, being able to flick, being able to slide off stuff. That still is going to make him good, but I think that 4.4 is going to hurt a little bit. However, since he's rushing and the rush token reduction when he breaks pallets, it's going to have to be a wait and see. I think he'll still be S, but I wouldn't be surprised if he got moved down a tier because of this. Maybe the bottom best tier. Like maybe he's worse than I'd say he's probably worse than Kaneki right now, in my opinion.
Mhm.
So Bryson, thoughts
I
on
totally I agree with some of that sentiment. I would imagine he's very much still S tier. I think if you are a god tier Blight main, you are probably not going to have any issues with these changes. In terms of like your ability to play well as Blight, I think you'll be okay. As
Yeah.
if you are a casual Blight player, you will likely or you're not great with Blight and you want him and you are maining him, and you rely on breaking pallets a lot, you're going to have a hard time with this. As I've played Blight a lot, it used to be my main. I just enjoyed other killers more when Xenomorph came out. I use his power a lot to break pallets, and so I know I would struggle with this change. But there, like you said, there's a lot of tech sliding off certain materials and objects. Those are really important. Those flicks also, really mind gaming and finding and thinking and strategizing the pathing of survivors is really going to be your friend here, because you're not going to be able to break every pallet you see, both a normal break and a special break with his power. Unfortunately, I do think this is going to make him worse on pallet heavy maps. So Larry's, Hawkins, like those indoor maps, you're probably already going to struggle because it's an indoor map, but yeah, you're going to have a harder time when it's a pallet heavy map. So, but I think overall this is a good change, and I think he's still a really strong killer.
Yeah, he's definitely still up there. I think he's probably a little worse than Kaneki, aka the Ghoul, but we'll have to wait and see. Because
Yeah.
obviously I'm no scientist. I'm not a pro player. So
Yeah. Me
so
neither.
now moving on to the little killer busts, as we said before, a lot of them were really minuscule. Like, for example, the doctor decreased the delay of shock therapy attack, aka his hold M2, and he releases that stag field to 0.75 seconds, was 0.8. It's 0.05 faster. Do you think this will matter?
No. I mean, no.
No,
Doctor's
no, it
already
won't.
Doctor's already not a great killer. This doesn't push the needle, which we'll get into later with the second half of this episode. But yeah, and poor Ghostface. Oh no.
Yeah. The Ghost Face decreased the cooldown of Night Trout to 15 seconds, was 17. The Cannibal increased maximum chainsaw sweep speed to 5.45 meters per second, was 5.35 meters per second. Dredge increased movement speed while charging Rain of Darkness to 4 meters per second, was 3.8 meters per second. Like, that does nothing. That does
Yeah.
nothing.
It will probably that one will probably actually feel better, I think.
Yeah, it probably will
Because
feel a bit better, but I don't
yeah,
know.
but it won't move the needle in terms of where he is on like a tier list, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Or of course, the best buff to any killer ever, the Skull Merchant, added support to multiple power icons. New
Oh
power
man,
icons, maps, deploy drone, rotate, and recall action.
Skull
Wow.
Merchant mains and enjoyers. If you're a main or a Skull Merchant main or enjoyer and you listen to this podcast, I email in or join our Discord, like redstandradio@gmail.com. I would love to know what you think behaviors like philosophy is towards this killer. She has just been, y'all just take it. Like they are kicking a dead horse and y'all just can't, you can't get a break. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I
Yeah.
really am.
I really am sorry for that. But yeah, let's kind of get into the second part of the episode. Are killer powers and just like killer balance in a good spot, Bryson? Would you say that? Do you think that the needle, as you're referring it to, where kind of like overall killers are getting a bit stronger as more and more are released, they have to sort of fight the competition of the other killers. Do you think that this sort of like moving the needle is starting to negatively affect other killers now?
Uh, it's hard, right? Because it's
Mhm.
the gap in terms of like from trapper to nurse, like those are trappers. Whatever part of MMR you are, Trapper's an F tier killer. Like he is one of the worst killers in the game. Like he has zero. He doesn't have a lot of map pressure. He has no movement. He takes forever to set up, and you've likely popped 3 gens already before he gets it down. Like that is
Mhm.
just how Trapper is. It's how Ghostface is. Like Ghostface, he has a little bit more pressure maybe than Ghost. Like I think maybe Ghostface. Some people might argue is worse, but like the gap between those killers, Ghostface and Trapper, and the gap and all that distance from Nurse and Blight and Kaneki, all is just it's massive,
Yeah.
and it's more complicated to fix that issue is really complicated. You can't do sweeping nerfs, you can't do sweeping buffs because then you hurt other killers in different
Mhm.
ways, right? So like
Yes.
even with the in this update we have the diminishing returns update, some of these lower tier killers will in some ways suffer. Like if you have a haste build with Trapper, with like batteries included and no ed, like those things are not going to stack the way they used to. So it's in some way a nerf to your low tier killer, and it's tough. Like, and then you have new killers that are releasing like, and no shade to Dungeons and Dragons, but Vecna has four powers in one. Like,
Mhm.
he is a dash killer in some ways. He can fly across the map. He can prevent pallets from being thrown or pick them up. Like,
Mhm.
and he's like a detectable ability, and
Yeah.
he's a range attack. Like it's which makes sense for his lore. Like no shade to
Yeah.
him, and no, and it's up to behavior to adapt these that feel right, that feel natural,
Yeah.
that comes from that source material. But
Like that power fantasy.
yeah, right. Like you don't want to play killer and they not feel like the way. Like that's why I don't play Michael Myers now. He doesn't feel like he would in the movie from
Mhm.
1978 or 19 whatever. So like it just sucks. So but what is the solution, right? It has to
Yeah.
be going to each of these killers and redeveloping their kits. You have to
Yeah.
go to Ghostface and give him a sweeping rework, or maybe it doesn't be rework. It'd be a major buffs, not 2 second cooldown off of his ability. Like
Yeah.
it's and Trapper same. Like Trapper has to go around and pick up all of his traps, and he can only carry 2 at a time. Like what are we doing? What other
Yeah.
killer? Hag doesn't start that way. I mean, even Hag is not in a Hag is in a bad place now, but
Mhm.
like she doesn't have to go around picking up her mud traps. Like she starts with them, and she can
Yeah.
TP to her traps. Like, but in some ways, she's somehow bad as well. So she's an F tier killer as well. But
Yeah.
it's
Uh,
it, long story short, it's complicated, and you have to go to each of those
mhm.
killers and do a complete rework or big buffs, because you can't do it. You can't do a blanket update.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because another thing we have to think about is that at the end of the day, behavior is a company. They need to make money. And in the nicest way possible, why would they ever go back to a product that people have already paid money for when they can make a new product that's flashier and better? They will
Yeah,
always do that, especially when they have like stakeholders needs they have to meet, where they're like, we want this quarter to make this much money. They're not going to get that if they rework Skull Merchant. They're going to get that money if they release like Resident Evil 4, the Resident Eviling. So there's kind of like this problem where they're kind of incentivized and forced basically to go new, better, 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 but never really a chance to go back unless it's one of these like dry periods where they're in like the point 0.5, point X PTBs where it's about like touching them up. And I feel like the problem with this is that they're at 40 semi killers, and there's so many currently, in my opinion, that are not good. They are on the weaker side, and there are killers who are being released who are better. Like Dracula, I think, to this day, is one of the worst designed killers in the game because he is 3 killers and a trench coat.
Yeah.
He is
Yeah.
3 killers and a trench coat. He is a projectile killer huntress. He is spirit with his bats, and he is Demogorgon. And he does them all better. He does
Or
them all better.
But I wouldn't even say Demogorgon. I would say he's closer to Pyramid Head because
Pyramid
of
Head.
the range attack. But yeah, and Pyramid Head's not even that great of a killer either.
Yeah, he's just all of them but better. Why would I, looking for a killer that is strong, ever pick one of those 3 when I could go with the new one that does all 3 and arguably better, and then also comes with these perks that I might like want more? And also it's an IP that I like. Like there's all these things that I feel like kind of incentivize people to go for the newer thing. And I will say, thankfully, I do feel like there is some leeway. Thankfully, you can get all the original ones for free. So it's not really a contest, but with licenses, that's where I have a problem because the only way to get them is with real money. You have to spend your hard-earned cash to get them. So if you want to say, oh, I really want to dominate lobbies, but I really want a killer who has like decent perks, I'm always going to go for Kaneki / the Ghoul. Why would I ever in my like sane, beautiful, amazing mind be like, I want to buy Ghostface. I really want to use Furtive Chase. I really want Thrilling Tremors. Like they're decent, but would I buy those? Why did I buy the Ghostface with arguably one of the worst towers in the game for 2 perks when I can get 3 kind of perks and the best killer in the game and just wait for the Shrine of Secrets? You're always going to go with Kaneki. Or even on a Survivor, like, never mind, we're not going to get into that. We're not going to get into that. Killer, I feel like there is an issue where they're forced to go forward. And I feel like something that would be really good for them, in my opinion, is to have one point of the year, not getting rid of a chapter release, no. But I feel like for one of the 0.5 PTBs or the one of the PTBs in between a chapter release and the next chapter release should be a game shakeup of some sort. So that would be like maybe, hey, every time in, oh God, let's see if I can use my brain. Every time in February, like April, every time in April, there we go. Every April, we're going to rework 3 killers. We're going to rework 40 perks, and we're going to change up a map. And they do that for the PTB. I feel like that would be very healthy for the game because you're not addressing all the issues. But it would show that you're listening and you're actively trying to improve these killers. And honestly, this takes resources. So maybe what they could do is that, hey, instead of getting 4 killers, 4 survivors a year, we get 3 killers, 4 survivors. How about that? Maybe one of the chapter releases is like what we got for the Trickster's Illusion. New map or something like that, new survivor. And then before that, we get a big gameplay shakeup. Maybe make the 2 1. So it's kind of like, we're going to push off the PTB for both of these and to make it like a huge PTB. I feel like that would be really good for game balance, especially since we're up into our 10th year for Dead by Daylight and they want to go for another 10 years. What they're doing now is sadly not sustainable, in my opinion.
Yeah, I love that idea, especially setting a certain time in your content roadmap to chip away at the big gap there. Okay, this year we're going to tackling Trapper, Skull Merchant, Ghostface. Okay, that's what we're going to do. We can set aside these resources, no new content. But yeah, it's tough. It's like And then you kind of box yourself in as like, okay, if we had that on the roadmap and people are expecting that, what if something unexpected happens? What if
Yeah.
we introduce a killer that is severely imbalanced and so that is a risk you run.
Hmm.
But two things came up when you were talking that I really want to touch on. One, DVD's in a spot where it's just the nature of this game. Same with hero shooters as well, I would say, in terms of when you first release the powers. This game released back in 2016. The powers they released with were a guy places traps, a
You're
guy goes
invisible.
invisible, and then a guy runs around with a chainsaw. He goes in a straight line. Those were your powers. The most complicated next power, I would say, was probably Doctors, where he
Yeah.
inflicted madness, and that was like, okay, we're stepping up a little bit, but it was a completely unique ability.
Yeah.
10 years later, we have these complex killers like Onryo and
Mhm.
and Vecna and the First. Like these killers that require some counterplay because they have killer interactables, and
Mhm.
that are also noob stompers because there's not really a way to learn them as a new player.
Yeah.
So it's but they also, the power creep has come up. Like these killers do things that other killers do, but like in better ways or even more unique ways, and they have more pressure as well. So it's just that's just the nature of this game. It's always going to be that way, and I understand a proper balance, like an MMR system, has a bell curve, right? You're going to have
Mhm.
killers that are below that bell. You're going to have killers that are in the middle of that bell, and you're going to have the killers who are top, like Nurse, Blight, and the Ghoul.
Exactly.
So I understand that there. I don't think there needs to be F tier killers. I just think they need to feel better to play. Like
Yeah.
I don't think Ghostface feels good to play. I don't think Trapper feels good to play. I felt like in my opinion, I felt like a good F tier killer to play was old Michael Myers. Again, I'm biased because I was a main, but I think if you got rid of Tombstone, I think he was just a really enjoyable jump scare killer. He could have used some quality of life improvements. He did not need the sweeping rework. He did, but I just felt like he was a fun killer to play as and against. And I think that's really what they should prioritize is, are they
Yeah.
fun to play as and are they fun to play against, like they mentioned in the 2v8 when they're going to add killers.
Yeah.
And a second part of that is that I mentioned on the top of this is I'm curious. I'm not a killer main, but I play killer often. I don't play killer when I go to play killer. I'm playing a killer that I connect with, that I love. I love a xenomorph. I love alien. I play that killer, and alien is in the middle of that bell curve. It's a B C, maybe A, depending on who you ask. Killer. Uh, I don't play Nurse. I don't play Blight. I used to play Blight, but I didn't play Blight because he was a really god tier killer. I played Blight because he was fun to play. And
Yeah.
people might choose Nurse and Blight and whatever because, but I'm curious of what, and listeners, if you're listening to this, email in or message us or comment, whatever. I'm curious, if you're a killer main, do you play the killer you do because they are more effective at winning a game, or because you connect with that killer? Maybe there's something part of their lore. Maybe they're just fun to play. Is the reason you're picking that killer because you win the most with that killer? That's what I would really love to know, because to me, the pick rate for like certain killers is really low, but I think that's because they're not fun to play, right? Like, or they just don't have a connection, like Twins, or maybe Trickster before his rework. I don't know. Like, I'm really curious, and that's a whole other question we could have a whole episode on. But I'm really curious. Like, and you love the animatronic because you love FNAF, but even then he's like in that bell curve. You're not winning every
Mhm.
game. Like, I'm really curious how many people pick a killer because it wins them every game, and oh, it's the S tier killer, so I have to win as many games. Like,
Mhm.
I don't know. It's just a really interesting philosophy, and I would love to know people's interests. But I pick the killers I play because I enjoy them, and I have some connection to them in terms of liking their license or their just vibes. So that's just kind of where I am. So I just thought that was two kind of points you kind of injected into my mind when you're speaking there. So I don't know where we go from there, but feel free to jump in.
Yeah. That's basically exactly how I feel. I feel like we've kind of said everything we can. Sadly, on this, there's not much we can really do besides be like, hey. don't forget about half your killers, please. And I know it's really hard because you have like 42, but like,
Yeah,
oh,
and they want this game to go 10 more years.
yeah,
Like
that's gonna be
what
like
is
another 10, 20 killers. That's gonna be 60.
what do you,
Oh my
what do
god, at
you
least
like
minimum.
what do you do power wise? Like we see overlaps of powers constantly now. Like, oh, he kind of does this of this, and he has a little
Yeah,
bit of this. Like everyone says that when a new killer comes out, oh, they're like a mix of this killer and this killer.
yeah,
Like what do you do to really shake it up?
yeah,
I don't know. I don't know.
yeah. Just one of those things that sadly, there's not a whole lot you can do. It's just kind of cross your toes and fingers and be like, oh,
Yeah.
please. Well, before we end this episode, Bryson, I have a little game, I guess I could
Ooh,
say.
let's do it.
Yeah, no slideshow this time. Sorry, this one's kind of
Hey,
just more of
not a problem.
a word of mouth. So
Mm.
all I'm gonna do is I'm going to ask you a killer, and I want to say high or low. So basically, if I'm saying like skull emergency, say high or low, and then when I say the next killer, I want you to say high or low, depending if you think they're better or worse. So,
Then the
for
previous
example,
killer?
yeah, for the previous killer. So,
Okay.
example, Trapper, high or low.
Low.
All right, and then what if I say Hag, high or low compared to Trapper?
I would say high.
Okay, so there we go. That's how the game's gonna go.
Okay.
And we're gonna go off my little tier list, which I'm not sharing. It's a little secret. But
Ooh.
let's see if people kind of guess what I'm going with. Okay, so first off, Trapper.
Yeah, low. Trevor's
Okay,
low.
next, Ghostface.
Uh
High or low?
I would say low. I think
Low. You
Ghostface is
think he's
worse.
worse than the Trapper?
I think he is
Okay.
worse than Trapper.
Really? I did not think you'd say that. Okay.
Mm.
Well, next, Pinhead. High or low?
Then Ghostface, high.
That makes sense. That makes sense. All right. Next one, Doctor.
Ooh. I'm gonna say low.
Low. Okay. So you
Lower
think
than
he's
Pinhead.
lower than Pinhead. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Next one, Michael Myers.
Oh God. He's high. He's higher than Doctor for sure.
Yeah. All right. Huntress.
Ooh, that's a good one. I will say, oh man, I'll say low, but like right below. Like they're almost neck and neck.
Alrighty. The Onryo.
Um, see, Elrio's interesting. I'll say then Huntress, high,
Yeah.
high.
Okay. So you think Onryo is better than Huntress?
Yes.
Oh, okay. A little spicy. A little spicy. All right. Next one. I said Onryo. So high or low, Bryson? Xenomorph.
Then Onryo.
Yes.
Man, you're putting me in the bell curve. We're in the bell curve. These killers are like in the same tier. I would say Xenomorph is better than. Yeah, I would say high,
Okay. So better than
but
Onryo.
but
Okay.
maybe like right above her.
Okay. Here's a fun one. High or low from Xenomorph? Springtrap.
Oh gosh, I'll say high because Springtrap cannot lose his power.
Okay. In my little tier list, I actually put Springtrap below Xenomorph. So interesting.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah. I
All right.
mean, that's a question. I mean, yeah, Springtrap kind of does what a Xenomorph does, but a little better, and you don't
Yeah.
lose your power. So, yeah, I get that.
Alrighty. High or low, Krisu?
Kursu high.
Yeah.
She's good.
All right. High or low, Houndmaster?
Low.
You think she's worse than Krisu? I mean, that kind
Oh
of makes
yes.
sense.
Yeah.
I
How
think
much?
she's actually. I think she's better than Krisu, in my opinion.
Really?
Yes, I do. Because a good Krisu is noticeable, but a good Houndmaster is dominating. You can really feel the difference between two. I do feel like Krisu, on average, is going to do better than Houndmaster, but a good Houndmaster, in my opinion, is better than a good soup player, in my opinion. Hot take. Hot take.
I'll kind of maybe one up that and say I've never gone against a good Houndmaster.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Like but I don't see Houndmaster much, so a small sample size. But I just really never feel oppressed by Houndmaster ever. So
All right, high or low compared to Houndmaster, the Knight.
high.
You
Houndmaster
think
or
the
not?
Knight's better?
Yeah, the knight can do a lot of stuff. Also apply, I think, more pressure than Houndmaster can across the map.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think so.
Alrighty, high or low for the Knight, Singularity.
In the right hands, high. Like
Okay.
Singularity can be very good in the right
Singularity
hands.
can be very good. But do you think he's better than the next high or low, Wesker, aka the Mastermind? The Mastermind.
I would say he's lower.
Lower. Okay. That makes sense, though. That makes
Like
sense.
Wesker is a solid pick. He's a solid killer. Can put on map pressure, but yeah, that's a tough one. Like I keep going back and forth. Like I'm trying to do clear cut answers, but it's so complicated. It's so
Yeah.
complicated. I would say low though.
Yeah, because it's got that macro. Alrighty. We'll do two more, and then I think we can do some closing thoughts.
Sounds
All right.
good.
High or low compared to the Mastermind, Dracula?
High.
High.
Dracula just is again like 3 killers wrapped in one. Insane movement speed, great pressure, great in chase. Has a ranged attack that can go over short walls. Like solid killer. Yeah, over the
High or
mastermind.
low? High or low? Henry Creel, the first, the second Vecna, Stranger Things, Vine Boy.
I would say high. I would say the first is like at the peak of A tier or near that. And I'd say Dracula is in A tier, but maybe on the lower end of A tier.
Okay. All right. And now for the final one, the hardest one, in my opinion.
No.
High or low from the first, Skull Merchant.
Oh no! Unfortunately, very low. Very, very, very low. I'm sorry, Skull Merchant mains.
Sorry, guys.
It's that dark Brazilian manga that got y'all.
The
Sorry.
dark Brazilian mangas. That's what I'm saying.
Oh.
Yeah.
Rip.
Well, thank you so much, Bryson. And
Yeah,
thank
thank
you,
you.
all listeners and viewers, for this episode. That's all we have for you this week. Be sure to join our Discord for future community events or other related stuff. Follow us on our platforms such as TikTok or on your platform of choice, aka Spotify or Apple Podcasts. And please engage with us. We want to hear more and reach out to more people. We want to say hi. We want to be like, yo, hi.
Howdy.
Yeah, but thank you again, listeners and viewers. Thank you, Bryson, for this very fun
Thank you,
episode.
Maddie.
And we'll see you in the fog next week.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.